Wonderful. Well, good morning, everybody in the US, North America, Canada. Good afternoon in Europe, and good evening in Asia, India, Singapore, all these other places. I think we have over 850 people online right now. So well done, the HFS team, for bringing everybody in. My name is Phil Fersht. I'm the founder CEO at HFS Research, and I'm going to share some thoughts around the new reality we're entering into. We have some fantastic data from our new Pulse study, and you're going to be the first to see it. Just a little before we get started, we've made all delegate proceeds immediately available to India COVID relief. And you can see here we've already helped contribute a number of hospital beds to a center in Tamil Nadu. And we've also just managed to, jointly with JP Morgan, complete an operation for pregnant women, a maternity ward that's already providing 70 hospital beds immediately with the right facilities to help women with pre and postnatal care. So thank you so much, everybody, for helping contribute towards this. India is the heartbeat of our industry, and they need our support and focus and attention at this time. And the fact that India is still keeping the wheels on the industry despite going through a terrible ordeal with COVID. I think our hearts go out to everybody, those who have lost their lives, those who have been very sick. And it's personally given me a lot of satisfaction to help. And I think all of you who generously donated, this money has gone straight to the places that matter. And I really, really thank you all so much. Get online, Twitter, LinkedIn, hashtag HFS Symposium. Let's try and make this as much fun as possible. It's a very different experience running one of these online. I know many of you have attended our HFS physical engagements over the years, and we've had an awful lot of fun and a bit of, I call it digital stress, getting this thing up and running with the amount of people involved. But one thing's absolutely clear: we've gone through offshoring, outsourcing, the wave. We've been through basic digital, which really kicked in around 10 years ago with the onset of real cloud, private cloud, and the onset of public cloud, and the ability to respond online quickly to clients and partners and customers and employees. We call that basic digital. And then we get to this one office phase that we're in right now. We'll be talking a lot about that in the next couple of days. And then I used to say this was 2025, but we made this 2022 out as we're going on this journey to a hyper-connected reality with much more fluid, unstructured ecosystems. I don't have to be the one to tell you that we've had to finally start making real changes to underlying processes and ways of doing things in our data structures. And when we look over this last 2-3 decades of our industry, while we've done things a little faster, a little cheaper, a little more efficiently, and we've moved data around our companies a bit better, we haven't really changed the underlying processes and ways of doing things that drive real transformation into a hyper-connected, fluid ecosystem with much more autonomous, hyper-connected supply chains. We see industry value chains morphing, changing, restructuring before our eyes. We see this final phase of widespread cloudification. And a lot of this has happened because many businesses, for the very first time, just trying to move into a work from home, work from anywhere model, they've had to actually think how to get things done. You can't operate a company run off an SAP process from 1985. This is a very different situation, and many companies have been through real transformation, and they're going through that for the first time. I'm going to talk a little bit about our Pulse study, which covers 800 of the Global 2000. We conduct this every 6 months. This is the first one we've done. And the first thing I'm going to say is we're going back to some type of hybrid reality. 60% of staff across all businesses will be returning to their offices in the next year. That means 40% are going to be working from home. So yes, work at home, work from anywhere economy is in full swing. We have to adapt to it. We're adapting to it in an extremely effective way. We're also adapting to the fact that many industries and many businesses still need employees in office, collaborating, whiteboarding, energizing each other. And that's going to be a big, big topic of conversation as we go through today's sessions. Just to look at this by industry as well, you can see this is the percentage of companies percentage of employees who are going to be working from home over the next year. And it's different by industry. So industries like telecom and life sciences and energy, which have often big, fairly bloated support operations, and a lot of them are still going to be WFH, whereas other industries like tech, retail, which is so digitally driven now, preferring a lot more staff back in the office, back collaborating, back doing things. I've got some friends in the startup industry where they're just chomping at the bit to get back into the office. The millennial Gen Z generation in particular, they like to work together still. They actually enjoy learning from each other, collaborating, and how much can you innovate when you're sitting behind a screen? It's a big question. You can also see by region, UK and then US lead in terms of work from home proportions. More people in Asia Pac are sent to go back to the office, and you can see here by function types. Often the knowledge functions like strategy, innovation, even shared services are still operating much more from a work at home model versus things like marketing and operations and even HR and sales, where these are more people-centric functions. They really need people collaborating in offices, and we see more of them going back into that situation. So this takes us to, I think, one of the big themes of today's conference, which is One Office. And One Office is our view of what digital transformation looks like when it's put into action. It's about running processes end to end across the organizational value chain. It's about bringing together our most critical assets, our customers and our employees. It's about an employee experience that's becoming a significant component of the overall customer experience, where you've got customers and employees working together in a digital duality, where we can wrap in common outcomes, common needs that are driving the customer impact. If you're working in a finance function or a procurement function, you're starting to think about maybe customer to cash, not invoice to cash, or customer to pay, not procure to pay, these types of things. And so the mindset is shifting. We're looking at breaking down barriers and silos between departments. You cannot design end-to-end processes if you don't have people across all different functions of the business thinking around a common mindset, one that is inclusive, one that is aligned to outcomes, one that incorporates methodologies and ideations like design thinking and lean to drive thinking. Because ultimately, we want to have great insight. We want to be anticipatory. We want to know what our customers are doing before they may know it themselves. We want to think about how do we leverage not just internal data, but external information across supply chains and industries and macroeconomies and even politics to make the right decisions to drive things forward from our organizations. So looking at our pulse data, one of the things that's really come out here is the fact that training staff to be digitally fluent as we get into the cloud is really dominating our immediate future. So these are the major changes happening across the Global 2000 over the next 12 to 18 months. And these were number one ranking changes that enterprises opted to select. And far and away, it's driving the digital fluency of the workforce, and it's not just migrating technology into the cloud, but also modernizing IT systems and getting them into the cloud as well. And so this is about being cloud ready and having a workforce that understands the context. So you have CIOs who aren't obsessing with always custom development and application development and code. They're also thinking about what's the business context when everything we buy is in the cloud. How do we move faster? How do we move more agility? How do we actually understand what the CFO, the CHRO, the CPO, what do these executives need? And at the same time, if you're on the business side of the business, you need to understand, how do I leverage emerging tech and cloud to be effective in my job? How do I understand how my company systems are set up? What are the key security and compliance measures that I need to be aware of, and database schema, etc. So this is the first time, I think, in our history that we're truly looking at the fluency of business and technology coming together in a hybrid environment. I mean, this is an exciting time for the industry. And we can look at this by industry as well, in terms of I pulled out here cloud migration and digital fluency, just so you can see some of the differences taking place. And I think those industries hugely dominant on moving into the cloud and have to be there now are the ones who are also hugely focused on improving the digital fluency of their workforces. I pulled out banking, financial services, insurance, for example, here. They're a little behind. They need to get their stuff into the cloud. They need to do it fast. That is dominating their priority. Whereas with retail, if you're not in the cloud already as a retailer, you're in big trouble. Big focus on digital fluency, the same in the tech vertical, and then travel, and a vertical that's completely flipped on its head as we see a whole new environment for travel trends and things. So a much more digitally fluent workforce in the travel industry is taking place. So this is affecting the skills and attributes we need to be effective in the one office. We need to have an appetite for change. We need to be, as we've said here, digitally fluent and understand that interplay between business and tech. We need staff who are self-directed and self-motivated. You can provide the tools, you can provide the resources, you can provide the inspiration and the leadership, but ultimately staff need to motivate themselves and direct themselves to turn ideas into action. They need to be interactive. They need to be problem solvers. And social influence is also becoming very important, having influence and impact on others in the organization and display real energy and leadership. This is what is happening in today's environment. We've seen people in the organization pre-COVID who are unrecognizable now during this situation because they embrace this environment. They developed a new level of confidence and self-motivation and identification with their businesses to be effective. And we're seeing a lot more discussion around values, right? What are we beyond making money and making profit and decreasing costs? We need to work somewhere that has a mission, has values. We're in an economy where you can get a job over a Zoom interview, right? You need to keep your staff. You need to have them driven by a mission that the company really drives itself by. In terms of business models, for example, as we look out over the next couple of years, the Global 2000 is less excited by, for example, global business services. It's starting to fade a little as one office takes center stage in the organization. There's a lot more focus just on things like functional shared services, centralized operations, just to keep things functional, keep things fluid. But enterprises are looking at the one office mindset as a way to be much more effective as we evolve. And you can see here in terms of support from third-party services, there's a big focus now on improving the customer experience and improving the employee experience. That is trumping almost everything from digital transformation and other areas where enterprises need to be successful. And so how are business models changing globally because of the pandemic as we look out where the increases and decreases are? So you can see here, we look at offshore, we look at nearshore, we look at onshore, and we look at location agnostic. And you can see here, all these location type areas are all increasing, but the location agnostic area is increasing the most. There's a little bit of decrease from some enterprises in all these areas, but in terms of the net, offshore is still increasing, nearshoring even more, onshoring even more, and then location agnostic sourcing, which includes work from home, is the highest increase in how enterprises are looking to source their operating models as we evolve. In terms of budgets and spending, here this will cheer up many of the supply side folks who are listening. We're expecting in 2021 an 8% increase in IT budgets right across the Global 2000. And when we look at spending on third-party and business services after a fairly flat to negative 2020, we're expecting to see at least a 6% increase overall in spending on third-party services. The highest proportion of that is in business and digital consulting, then IT infrastructure and cloud, sourcing and procurement, and cybersecurity. These are areas of big spending and focus, and I expect this to increase even more towards the end of the year and next year as the return to work continues and it becomes a little easier to implement and roll out some of these solutions. When we get into the cloud, we're going to be talking a lot about the cloud the next couple of days. We looked at how cloud deployment benefits the organization, and this is a a very telling statistic across the Global 2000. This is 800 of the Global 2000 here saying, we are going into the cloud to build the culture to create and deliver products and services digitally, irrespective of location and underlying technology. It's about the culture and the capability. And then it's about providing the ability to work from anywhere. It's really important. This is essential for survival for many, many businesses. It's bigger than just having ubiquitous data access. It's bigger than continuous delivery. It's about culture, and it's about working from anywhere. So what is holding back companies, and what is the status they're in with cloud? And this is another statistic which I find quite baffling, to be honest with you. 72% don't actually have a completed strategy yet for cloud. They're in the process of formulating the cloud strategy. A chunk of them, 60%, are still looking at it as a cost play, and a lesser number is looking at efficiencies. People are still trying to figure out what their strategy is. How do they get there? What do you do with your legacy data lakes? What do you do with the cloud-ready applications and data and services? How do you get a two-pronged strategy to be effective? Because if you've got crappy data, just moving it into the cloud, it's still crappy data, right? You need to think about where the investments need to be made to modernize and improve what you have, and then to migrate what is ready. And that's where we're going. In terms of emerging technologies, you can see here where the investments are increasing or decreasing across all these emerging technology lines over the next 12 to 18 months. Process automation, that is on the increase by a large number of businesses, slightly more at a moderate pace because it's complex, it's difficult, it's hard in a digital environment to do a lot of this stuff, but it's on the increase. Cyber is finally at the top in terms of significant increases, even though I would hope this is even more pronounced with some of the issues that are taking place in industry today. And even other areas like blockchain are now really being evaluated heavily, and there is quite a lot of firms really looking at this. And then AI is here. It's already existing. You know, if you try and sell products on Amazon, for example, and you're a retailer and you don't have real linkages into the AI capabilities, you're not going to know how to price, place, position, the geographic strategy, anything to do with your products and services. You need AI, you need it right now. This is what is going on. In terms of process automation, this is dominated by North America. We see close to 90% of North American businesses really increasing level of investments in process automation, and closely followed by Asia Pac, less so by Europe and the UK. So getting into this area around data, I think before we get into the panel, it's very important to talk a little bit about One Office and the data behind it. And you got to get the data to win in your market. Most companies are really right at the beginning of this still. You've got to align your needs to deliver on your business strategy. You've got to clarify your purpose and vision and what the data is to support that. You then got to rethink your processes to get the data. You've got to work out what needs to be eliminated, simplified. How do you work out your workflows to source the data that's effective? And then you've got to do it in the cloud. You've got to actually design operational workflows in the cloud because you've got no option. You've got to be able to be effective in this work from anywhere economy. You've got to have global talent coming together to create a borderless, completely digital business. This is the true environment, real digital transformation in action. And then once you've got your data in the cloud, you've got to automate it. But automation is not your strategy. It's the necessary discipline to ensure your processes provide the data and at speed that achieves your business outcomes. You've got to approach all future automation in the cloud if you want to truly run processes effectively end to end. And then finally, you got to apply AI to really refine your data flows at the speed you need. You've got to apply things like digital assistants. You've got to engage computer vision capability, machine learning, and other techniques to refine the efficacy of your data. AI is how we engage with our data to refine ourselves as digital organizations where we only want a single office to operate with agility, to do things faster, cheaper, more streamlined than we ever thought possible. AI helps us predict and anticipate how to beat our competitors, delight our customers, helps us reach both outside and inside of our organizations to pull the data we need to make critical decisions at speed. This is what we really term as the One Office data cycle. And we'll go a lot more into detail with emerging technology over the next couple of days, but the three tenets of One Office are: how do we derive real native automation? How do we drive real people and process change? And how do we leverage this with data and decisions? And you can see here we have an engagement AI layer. There's various products and services you'll be familiar with here. There's workflows, there's RPA and AI operations that really should be twinned with RPA. We've had businesses like document processing becoming much more pronounced in the recent months. And then we look at other apps and intelligence and integration and optimization that have to be secure and agile as we're effective. And as a service provider, you need to be the orchestrator between your client and between this plethora of emerging technology and capability to be truly effective in this market. So where do we go from here? We see positive demand for technology and business services. We've been through a lot of that. The ways of working are changing forever. The cultural resistance to work from home is truly gone, and the ways of working have changed dramatically. We're seeing increased localization of service delivery, while offshore is still increasing, and it's a really critical part of what we do. It's truly being dovetailed with nearshore and agnostic and onshore capability. There is no one-size-fits-all industry strategy here. Everything varies by industry, as we've seen. The adoption of emerging tech across industries is significantly different. The One Office mindset is taking center stage as organizations really do aspire much more experiential value. 75% of the respondents really state the importance of One Office mindset as it's increased after the pandemic. And then finally, double click on that cloud. 99% are investing or planning, but 70% don't have a clear cloud strategy. There's big opportunities as a practitioner, as an advisor, as a service provider, as a tech firm to really help enterprises get closer to their clients. You need to get closer to your clients' clients. How do you do this with the right cloud strategy that's effective, that's cost effective, as well as strategically effective? There's our hashtag. And now we're going to get into our panel. And I'm going to ask everybody to do a very quick name, rank, and serial number to introduce yourself. So maybe start with Alex Rinke.